Ladies and gentlemen, it's here. The Christmas update. The biggest update in this game's history. You guys have been asking me, how am I playing with the new weapons? How am I playing with the new enemies? I've been telling you, it's in the beta build, which you can access, but just wait for the main thing, and now it's here. Let's get into it. My God, there's a ridiculous amount of content here. 24 beta updates. 3.5 to 4 months worth of updating has gone into this. There is entirely too much to go over in the actual patch notes, so I'm going to do my best to highlight the most important things, and it's probably still going to be too much. So let's jump right into it with the new stuff. We got new abilities, 5 of them. Obviously your grenade, but now we have the black hole, which is basically like the legendary black hole grenade, except it only affects the enemies. It does not affect your projectiles. You can't throw the black hole, dump a minigun mag into it, and they all like swarm in there. It's just corralling the enemy. We got the grappling hook, nice new movement, but also stuff procs at the location where the hook lands. So you've got like dagger blast or I don't know, fire explosion. It procs right there. So that's a little bit hit or miss. Do you want to grapple hook up super high to get movement, but then the stuff procs away? Or do you want to grapple right into the middle of enemies? Very interesting balance there. Ice blast, similar to the ice explosion legendary ability mod. A little underpowered, but hey, freezing enemies is always good, especially if you combo with something like Crystal Barrage. They're frozen, they get slammed with those crystals. It's beautiful. And finally, laser beam. It's a nice damage over time area, almost like an aura on the ground where it lands. There's an explosion like at the body of your crab when you do it. I'm not sure if that's a glitch or if it's just a placeholder. I don't know, but anyway, laser beam's a lot of fun. Also, new melee weapons. 3 of them. Your claw, that's your regular. Dagger looks like the claw, but it's lower range, and it does 6 instances of 10 damage instead of the claw doing 1 instance of 30. So dagger's stronger, but not as far. And then, of course, the hammer. My good golly gosh, boys and girls, the hammer's insane. You leap up, you do a little slam attack. It's a nice long range in that explosion. Check out the Thor build that I did with lightning, which is also a little bit new and improved, by the way. Just super, super fun. Adding these to dimension for your builds. You used to just have your weapons. That's it. Now you have your weapons, your melee weapons, and your ability. My God, literally mathematically exponentially increased the build variety in the game. And we know that there's going to be more of these to come. That alone makes this update huge. New horizons, baby. Let's get into more new stuff. Quick play finally works. Let's go, dude. The totem's been there forever. I'm not really sure what it was, but for whatever reason, it was causing issues. Now it doesn't. It works, and you can quick play with up to 6 people. It was actually testing up to 8 people. The game's not really built for it. It got too unstable, but you can technically play with groups of 5 and 6, and you can do it free play if you want. Very cool. Now let's move into new weapons. Laser cannons. Think of this as like a dual-wield minigun, but they're lasers instead. Incredibly fast, incredibly accurate, literally just an instant S tier weapon. Then we've got the seagull, like a deagle, a desert eagle, plus a seagull, the bird. It literally makes a seagull noise when you fire it. It actually used to do it on reloads only, now it's every single bullet. Think of this like a fast, rapid-fire sniper, a little bit less damage, but again, that rate of fire is super high. It's another very strong weapon, especially for the new minigames. So let's get into those. Three new minigames. Arcade. Eliminate as many enemies as possible in about 90 seconds, I think. I'm not exactly sure what the amount of time is, but yeah, just eliminate enemies until time runs out. The point is to just mow through everyone. And more enemies spawn, the faster you kill them without taking damage. You take damage, 50% of enemies on screen disappear, and you don't get score for that. There's an achievement to get to 300. Can you do it? Let me know. One of the other main mini games is Holdout, kind of the reverse of Arcade, where if you get hit, you die. So it's how many waves of increasingly strong enemies can you survive without taking damage. This is for those people who are insane at timing up the iframes and going flawless on nightmare runs and ultra chaos runs if that has happened. There's an achievement to get that wave 50, so it's pretty hard. Can you get there? What about 75? What about 100? Let me know. And then finally, the one that everyone has been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen, PvP. Dual mode is here. I showed a little bit of teasers on Twitter a while ago back in late July when we played a secret build of it because we're boys with Noisestorm like that, but it is here. It's finally here. Think of it like not quite Call of Duty matchmaking. It's not like that, but it is like rolling into a private match with your boys playing on Rust. And everyone's got a base loadout. Everyone gets rocket, no matter what, because let's be honest, you need that splash damage to hit such a small player anyway. The crab model is not big. You can pick your melee and you can pick your ability, but you're starting with rocket and you're just screwing around in a little small arena. He's going to add more arenas. He's going to expand a little bit. For the most part, it's just a fun little duel mode. If you have friends, you got a co-op lobby going, hop on into duel. It is fun. There's also a new wave island type. These are 6 waves of increasingly tough enemies, and your loot chest, the reward chest will increase as you complete those waves. If you take damage in solo, it ends and you get the chest level that you're on. If you're in co-op, your level will freeze, but you still have to complete all 6 waves with your team in order to progress. So are you just going to get hit, take that health chest, or are you going to work hard, get through all 6, and get the epic chest? Also more island modifiers, like armored enemies, where all the enemies have armor, or XL, which has triple the amount of enemies spawning. And even new blessings. Remember, blessings are like optional objectives. Previously, flawless was the only one. If you go flawless, you get an extra chest. Well, now we have things like rush, or if you get a certain amount of kills on an island, I think it's like 60, but that does scale as you go, then you'll get an additional chest. So just little bonuses. We've got 3 new tropical islands, 1 new Arctic biome island. These are all nice little new islands. Hey, the more the merrier, as always. The Arctic one is pure ice, and you'll see in the future, when I get to it, that movement on ice is new and very fun. New enemies, we've got 3 of them. Limpet, these are little like burrowing crab-like shelled creatures. I don't know what they're actually considered, but they're invulnerable until they decide to attack. They've got a short attack phase where they shoot projectiles, and that's when you got to pick and choose to fight them. So it's really fun to kind of figuring out how to time it up and take them out, because they do have strong attacks, so you want to make sure you handle them. But of course, they're invincible for a long time, so it is hard. We've got starfish. These are goofy, floppy, silly boys. They do a jump and slam attack, kind of like when the elite fire crab jumps and slams on you. That's all they have, but it hurts, so avoid it. And finally, kind of a variant here, we got mini grubs. These are smaller, faster grubs. They come up, they do a little tail whip spin attack on you, so try not to get overrun. That's all I can say. New loot, we've got 1 new weapon mod, escalating shot. Your fire rate is decreased initially, but as the longer you fire with something like the minigun, it increases that fire rate over time. And by the way, minigun now spawns with level 2 escalating shot by default, just like how the flamethrower has fire shot and arcane wand has arcane shot. So that's a fun way to differentiate the minigun further, now that like laser cannon is basically just a dual wield minigun. Nourishing salvage, you heal when you salvage. Crystal fertilizer, more destructible crystals and health rocks spawn. Bonus chest, this is the biggest new item in the game as far as perks go. You get an additional reward chest for every 100 elims. And this is a epic level perk, and my god, it snowballs your builds. If you can get some high damage, get some kills. Obviously early in a run, you're not going to get 100 kills very often, but towards the end, you can easily get 2, 3, 4, 500 in a single island. It's just boom, 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 tons of extra chests. Sturdy totems. Totems have more guaranteed uses before they break. So like glass totems, you can easily spam a glass totem 5, 6, 7 times, depending on your level of sturdy totems. Equalizer perk, this is a fun one. This is one of the better ones as well, but it's a little confusing. You get a nice 100% damage buff if you have an even number of weapon mods, ability mods, and perks. 0 counts as even, but it's not even total, it's even for each slot, each category. Slugger, explosive enemies like slugs, for example, when they explode, that radius and damage is increased. Crystal dividends, you get a percentage bonus to your crystals at the end of an island, just like paycheck, where that's a lump sum, this is a percentage. Amber resin, healing is more effective. And then 2 greed perks, which is unusual. We don't get greed perks very often. Your max health and damage are increased, that's nice, but you physically grow larger. And this is like basically a mod for the game. It's comical how large you can get. And finally, hoarder, you have a chance to get more chests, but you can no longer drop items to salvage. New destructibles, we got mega crystals. They're massive, they break into small crystal bundles, tons of income there. And mega challenge crystals, they break into a bunch of challenge crystals, so you can get, I don't know, if you got a good build going, you can do 3 or 4 challenge crystals instead of just 1. And finally, not finally at all, but we've got cosmetics in the game. Dude, look at that little Santa hat. You see that shit? Oh my god. Obviously, I don't really want to wear a Santa hat like 3 weeks from now, so we'll see how long it stays in the game, but this is a perfect example of how the cosmetics items in the game could work. Hats, nice and simple. Doesn't have to be too crazy. Make it cost keys in a little item shop. No, not microtransactions, just keys. You get keys from defeating bosses and elites. Remember, just play the game, you get a bunch. I've got like 800 of them. You're telling me a freaking baseball hat for 200 wouldn't be worth it? Of course it would. That'd be sick. Just a good example of how cosmetics can look, and I'm very excited for the future. Some movement changes. You can sideways slide now, not just forward and backward. You got omnidirectional sliding. You slide for twice as long, but it's kind of a gradual decrease. Kind of rework that, and it does feel a little different. And icy surfaces, like that new Arctic ice island, you just slide forever. It says infinite. I'm gonna trust you, Noisestorm. You literally slide forever. So do enemies. It's pretty funny. And speaking of enemies are a little bit overhauled with their movement. It's a little bit smoother, less sudden. There's some dashing thrown in there for some enemies, and they also slide on the ice. So that ice island is hectic. very zoomy for both you and the enemy. Some sounds and music and stuff, obviously new music pretty much every update. I think there's 4 completely new songs. They're all bangers. I swear to God, when this soundtrack drops, it's going to be one of the best soundtracks in all of gaming. Mark my words. We also have just in general sound effects, like when you break rocks or crystals or when slugs explode. There's a nice little bass sound. It's pretty cool. Hit marker audio stacks now for weapons like shotguns where you're shooting multiple pellets. Some graphic changes, mostly things with like lighting and skyboxes and sand, especially nighttime lighting and volcanic lighting. It's little stuff here and there, but ultimately the game feels a lot newer. As far as load times, those have also been optimized further. The portal and little like map that shows you like the island progression no longer really happens. I mean, the portal kind of happens, but it's way faster. It's like a second, boom, you're into the next island. You know, on the downside, you lose that map, but most people run random island modifier anyway, so like I didn't care about the map. There's a bunch of question marks anyway, so I don't know. I like it. Get that flow state going. Speedrunners, you're having a good time. All right, speaking of speedrunning, chests spawn in faster. The loot when you open a chest spawns in faster, and auto looting now works correctly and faster. No more issues where you got big chests, you got bonus chests, you got care package, performance bonus. It's Island 200 and you have 50 chests with 50 items each, and you go to auto loot and your game crashes. No more, dude. It goes through, gets them all. It just works. And the auto looting doesn't just only check for rarity and salvaging things when you technically could have picked up a lower rarity if it was a duplicate. It actually finds the duplicates properly. And finally, lightning element, I kind of talked about it. It got a big buff. It's now 3 times as powerful. It was dealing 33% of the stacks, so it got 100 stacks. It was dealing 33 damage. Now it's 100% of the stacks, so if you did 100 stacks, you're doing 100 damage. Also, it's more purple and just looks way cleaner. Again, Thor build. Go check it out. Look at that lightning. Holy shit. All right, that's a lot. Moving on to balance changes. Elites. You know how you can get them when you do random island modifiers on like island 13, even though you're not supposed to until 19? That was a nice, easy way to farm keys, farm health, etc. So he makes it so that those elites that are not on the 9th, or sorry, on the 10th island of a biome, those no longer drop keys or healing chests. Just the epic chest for loot. Pretty big nerf there. I understand why he did it. It's a much more of a risk to take elites, so you got that to think about. New difficulty modifier, expensive shops, shop price are doubled. There you go. You removed, on the other hand, the surging enemies difficulty modifier, as it was kind of just ruining the pacing and kind of turned everything into a horde island anyway. Dynamic damage reduction to elites and bosses when looping. So what this means is on the first loop, first 30 islands, nothing changes. But after that, let's say you're fighting an elite on 40 or 50 or 90, well, 90 would be a boss. That boss has a 50% damage reduction the second it starts, and that whittles down to 0% damage reduction after 30 seconds. So he's trying to make it so you're not just melting an elite or boss in quick 4 seconds, just to spread the game out. A lot of these changes, as you can probably already tell, are making the games last a little bit longer and spread out, so you're not just incredibly broken and overpowered by Island 50. And I think it's a smart move. Sorry, macro users, you cheating fucks, you're going to be pretty annoyed at this one. Burst pistol and dual pistols now no longer fire faster than their actual fire rate. You can't just spam click and exceed the fire rate as if you were just holding click. So sucks to suck, bucko. Moving on, global projectile limit increased from 400 to 500. This is pretty nice because oftentimes if you did have a pretty OP build, you know, with a bunch of rapid fire and supercharged, you would just shoot and have so many projectiles proccing that you would exceed the limit, and it's like you're shooting but like nothing's happening because there's too many projectiles existing and there's a limit in the game, right? So now that limit has been buffed by 25%. Pretty nice. Random totems no longer give you greed perks, which means that the only way to remove a greed perk is to spam that random totem. Not spam it, just hit it once, and you will no longer have any greed perks, so that's pretty cool. Couple items removed, like knockback shot and ghost ammo. Fuck ghost ammo, I'm happy that's gone. Also, for some reason, heavy shot and accelerating shot will no longer even show up until you have bouncing shot, but I guess those are like kind of the only times you'd pick those up is if you had bouncing shot. I don't know about accelerating shot. I kind of liked that. Moving on to buffs as a whole. Weapon formation mods like arc shot or square shot are now additive. Previously, split shot was about the only additive thing. Like you could have an arc and then those arcs could also split. Well, now you could have an arc that squares. So things like dual shotgun, auto shotgun, crossbow, cluster launcher, and just in general, a lot of them, they also fire extra shots. These are additional procs. It's not like the original projectile is now a arced projectile. There's original projectile plus an arced projectile. So that's like a double whammy for these formation mods. And they were already strong in my opinion, but now they're just super insane. And this also means that the spread is being taken into account. So things like grip tape to tighten the spread or blind fire to loosen the spread are very influential and helpful depending on which way you want to go with these formation mods. Enemies can be frozen for longer, 50% longer to be exact, and as a player, you're only frozen for half a second. Man, I bitched and moaned about this forever, so I'm happy to see this implemented. I know it was only like 1 or 2 seconds max, which isn't that long, but it feels like forever in the game, just being stun locked and getting smacked by more attacks, so I'm very happy that the frozen time has been decreased. A couple things have moved to rarity, down from epic, like flammable armor and explosive armor. Whatever, seems fair. Enemy damage doesn't scale as aggressively on each loop, which I think is great because looping was kind of nuts. Island 29, you'd run through it, then you'd run through the boss on 30, and then 31, all of a sudden basic crabs are one-tapping you. That's nuts. All enemies that deal fire, their fire stacks are halved, so you will not get destroyed by fire. Also, we see that our own fire stacks, when we do fire as a player, have been doubled as well. So it was here, now we take less and we give more. Doubly buffed. Pretty nice. Certain stronger enemies like homing grubs or minigun crabs can no longer receive shielding. They cannot be shield buffed, which is super nice because those were already a pain in the ass and making you run up and melee them. Just very tough to do that without getting destroyed, so that's nice. Turns out, by the way, the auto rifle is now god tier. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. He buffed the damage, he decreased the spread, he increased the bullet velocity. I mean, I don't use it much because it's kind of a jack of all trades, but now it's a jack of all trades on steroids, dude. It's insane. It might be S tier. I'm not sure. I feel like a lot of people are loving it. I'm going to have to try it out here soon. A lot of other weapons got buffs, either to their mag size, their rate of fire, tightening the spread, or loosening the spread, like the dual shotty, or just damage buffs. A lot of changes to the weapons, and obviously you can check those out by reading link in the description. Moving on, fireworks no longer have knockback. Now, will this make firework grenade finally worth picking up ever? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. I don't know, man. Tell me. Someone in the comments. Let me know. Because I don't want to waste my time picking it up. It's probably better now, but man, it just flies up in the air. Awful. Let's get into the nerfs. This is where it gets a little dicey, and you'll start to understand why I think that he's trying to extend these runs and make it harder to become OP. Shop pricing, destroyed. Prices have increased. They increase more when looping than they already did increase. They're more expensive per player in multiplayer, and when you reroll, each successive reroll is more expensive. It increases at an increasing rate. Also, when you have the random island modifier on, you can only find a shop on 3, 4, 5, and 9. So no shops possible on 2, 6, 7, or 8. You're finding fewer shops, and those shops are more expensive. Oh, by the way, income stuff also got nerfed. Crystal combo, snatcher, finishing move, gold coating, money is power, bonus crystals, workaholic, rising star, limited loot, double-edged sword, all have had their income qualities reduced. So your income doesn't take you as far because the shops are more expensive and you're not getting as much of it as bonus from these perks. All in all, he does not want you going into a shop and walking out with 15 items and the run is over, it's broken, it's GG's. He wants it to be a little bit more linear struggle, as most roguelikes are. I get it, but this one hurts on paper. Cannot expect yourself to have infinite money and buy out the shop every time, like you sometimes could get away with previously. Some quality of life changes. Projectiles should no longer travel through walls and stuff to hit you. There were some fringe cases where that would happen. Also fringe cases where enemies were getting stuck in walls still. It seems like that's just so many weird things happening there, and he has continued to nip them in the bud, so hopefully we will not see any more stuck enemies. Projectiles also get nullified when they hit the blue borders around the edge of the map, so you will not be hitting that projectile limit as fast. Plus, again, that projectile limit was increased, so ultimately both of those things will help from that department. Slugs, pufferfish, any exploding enemies, they cannot explode until they're grounded, so they can't explode on you in midair like mid-launch pad, which is super nice. That was a pretty lame way to die. Some visual clarity improvements with UI stuff, health bars, damage numbers, just different stuff. It's got drop shadows or outlines now in a lot of spots where it didn't, and things are more legible in all weather circumstances, all biomes, etc. The game automatically pauses when you lose focus, like when you alt-tab. You're invulnerable for 2 seconds after falling off a cliff and respawning, so you can't respawn into a horde and get destroyed. You don't take fall damage after an island's cleared to be consistent with other stuff. FOV slider can now go up to 120. Previously 110 was the limit, so if you're a Minecraft or Quake Pro kind of guy, you're going to be feeling good. Crosshairs slightly improved. Some of them were reworked, some of them got got a central dot for easier aiming, and just in general, they look better. Now the host is the only person that can bring you back to the lobby in a multiplayer run from that multiplayer game over screen. Previously, you could just like hit back to lobby and oh no, you left your party. Now the host has to do it. You can still like, press escape and like quit to lobby to fully leave, but you can't accidentally go back to the lobby and like leave your teammates. So that's pretty nice. Cooldowns on screen for melee, right? We had that for your grenade, your ability. Now you also have it for melee. You can disable hit markers as a whole and damage numbers. I find that a little bit weird. I mean, I'm used to seeing both of those, but if you want a little bit of a cleaner experience, especially longer runs, then you can do that. Sonic Boom and Shockwave no longer knock enemies back. It's a little bit tough. That's kind of the reason you get Sonic Boom. The damage is meh, but that was part of the reason why enemies got stuck in walls. So we're just getting that out of the way. Can no longer happen. It is what it is. Clip Shot's been renamed to Mag Shot, and being on low graphics no longer makes the totems emit no color. I definitely have times where I could use a little bit more frames when I turn it down to low, but then you lose the color from the totems. It just looks like shit. So I'm glad that he fixed that. A lot of bug fixes as well. There's easily 30 plus things here. I'm gonna skip them because it's really nitty gritty stuff, but definitely check it out if you like. Last big topic here is Ultra Chaos. We've got some balance changes. This was the difficulty where previously you had to get Diamond rank as an entire account. That means Diamond on every single weapon, which means Nightmare modifiers on to Island 60 for each weapon. Now you only have to have Ruby, which does not require an ammo on every single weapon. I think it's probably only like 10 out of 14 now. They slowed down the enemy attack speed, the enemy spawn rate. Elites and bosses spawn less often, and when they spawn, it's only about 1 or 2 instead of 3 or 4. Reduce the amount of bonus starting luck, and bosses and elites can no longer have a healthy or shielded buff. So on paper, it looks like he made it a lot easier, but we will see how that goes. I know that it's definitely still super hard, definitely harder than Nightmare, but we will see how that stacks up. I think there's a lot of people in the community. Yeah, I'm looking at you, little Timmy. I think you're complaining a little bit too much about the hardest difficulty in the game being hard. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be unbalanced, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll leave it at that. Noisestorm also goes on to state that he plans on dropping a part 2 of this variety update, fleshing out more melee weapons, more abilities, more island layouts, more songs, etc. He's trying to get to that point where no 2 runs feel the same, and I think he's right on track. Again, I'll repeat it. Adding melee weapons and abilities on its own exponentially increases the build variety, and of course, more enemies, more layouts, more island types, etc. goes even further. Last but not least, he teases an upcoming feature when you can kind of combine perks and mods in a new way. The example he has is Mace Shot, but you'll notice the mace balls themselves are homing and chaotic, whereas previously only the projectiles from the weapon would be homing and chaotic. Now we have those things affecting the the proc from Mace Shot as well. So we're going to start seeing very interesting combinations that's going to open up a whole new world of build possibilities. And I'm super excited. I mean, look, can you imagine the amount of things that just homing shot turns into just like god tier builds at this point? It's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts. Not sure if it's going to happen in part 2 of the variety update, which he thinks will be around February, or if this will be more like summer 2024. Either way, it'll be worth the wait. So that's about it, guys. A lot of stuff in here, and definitely go check out the patch notes for some of the nitty-gritty stuff that I skimmed over. This, yet again, 24 beta updates rolling into this one. It was insane. Almost 4 full months of progress for this update, and I think it's just a perfect example of why this project is truly just, out of pure passion. He just wants to make the most fun, exciting, cool little goofy crab game he can, and it's quickly becoming one of the better roguelikes on the entire market. It's all of these things, like adding the dimensions of melee weapons and abilities, is bringing it up to the level of something like Risk of Rain or Gunfire or Brotato, or all these ones that you see with tons of players on them. Crab Champions is getting there, man. The game has a lot to offer. If you haven't checked it out and for some reason are watching this and got to this part in the video, go check it out. It should still be on sale on Steam. I think the sale runs into early January. Less than $10 at this point. Give it a try. I promise it'll surprise you. Other than that, again, happy holidays. Have a great new year. This is my personal last video. It's going to hit in December. I will see you in the new year. A lot of exciting things to look forward to with this game, even in the small little paragraphs that he left for teases for the next update. Like the video if you like the video, of course, that does help me out. Drop an emoji, comment, whatever you want. Subscribe for more Crab Champions, because I'm your guy. and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.